Good afternoon, friends, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon for our regular interaction on a weekly basis. I have one announcement to make, subsequent to which I am willing to answer any questions on those aspects. And after that, in case you're interested in anything else, I'll try and see if I can respond to those. The announcement that I have to make relates to the External Affairs Minister's visit to another neighboring country. The External Affairs Minister, Srimati Sushma Swaraj, will be visiting Naypyidaw, the capital of Myanmar, from the 8th to the 11th. This is her fourth visit to a neighboring country. Her first visit was to accompany the Prime Minister to Bhutan. Subsequent to that, she's traveled to Bangladesh and to Nepal. And this is her fourth visit to one of another one of India's neighbors, emphasizing again the importance that India places to our relations with our neighborhood. There are several elements to this visit. On the 9th of August, the External Affairs Minister will be participating in the 12th annual India-ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting. On the 10th of August in the morning, she will be participating in the 4th meeting of the EAS Foreign Ministers. And on the 10th afternoon, she will be participating in the meeting of the 21st session of the ARF. These are all plurilateral in nature. Subsequent to that, on the 11th, the External Affairs Minister will have bilateral discussions with her counterpart from Myanmar. She will also meet important Myanmar leaders of Myanmar, including the President and the Speaker of the Assembly. Let me try and take you through some of these elements so that you have some background information on this. Also, on the sidelines of these plurilateral meetings, the External Affairs Minister is scheduled to have a series of bilateral meetings. These include with the Foreign Minister of China, the Foreign Minister of Australia, New Zealand, the Republic of Korea, Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam, Brunei, and Canada. Now let me take you to the ASEAN. Now, India and ASEAN have a very robust relationship. We have 26 dialogue mechanisms covering 7 areas of cooperation. These are agriculture, trade and commerce, environment, science and technology, tourism, new and renewable energy. Our relations with ASEAN have reached a critical mass, and we are in the process of pushing them to the next level. The ASEAN-India meeting will focus on how to enhance connectivity between India and ASEAN states, people-to-people relations, and seamless integration of the economic space. The meeting of the East Asia Summit Foreign Ministers will focus on the 7 areas where there is cooperation and focus on. These are education, energy and environment, finance, pandemic management, disaster management and mitigation, connectivity, and food security. Also, it is normal for the East Asia Summit Foreign Ministers to discuss issues of peace and security in the region. And finally, the ARF, as you are aware, discusses in a closed-door setting issues relating to peace and security in the region. As far as India is concerned, we will focus on issues relating to terrorism as well as developments in the region in terms of peace and security, especially relating to Afghanistan. I think I will stop with this background information. I will be willing to answer any questions that you may like to ask on this or on anything else. The floor is now open. Yes, Vijay? Let's begin with questions on what I've made announcements on.
Can I ask you about the bilateral between India and Myanmar.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Now, remember that last time our Foreign Secretary, Nirupama Rao, had visited Myanmar. After that, I think Krishna also went to Myanmar. Between that meeting and the visits actually, and today, what is the development between the two nations so far as bilateral concerns?
Well, I think you missed out several other important meetings. Prime Minister visited Myanmar. The last time the Foreign Minister visited Myanmar was in 2012. Mr. Salman Khurshid visited for a bilateral visit. The Foreign Secretary of Myanmar was recently here in India while you were all focused on other issues. He was here. There was a Foreign Office consultation whereby we focused on basically 2 or 3 elements which will be carried forward today, in the forthcoming meeting. But the meeting, as far as the political significance of this meeting is concerned, it is the first interaction at a political level between Myanmar, which is a close neighbor, which has a long border with India. So issues related to border management will, of course, figure. Also, connectivity. We see Myanmar as a bridge between India and ASEAN. So there are issues of connectivity related here. We will also discuss on the trilateral highway, also the multimodal projects relating to Kaladan. So these are matters of connectivity. Border management will certainly include issues of security of interest to us. In addition, Myanmar and India have a bilateral trade of approximately $2 billion. This is in favor of Myanmar. Myanmar is the largest supplier of pulses to India. All of us have dals in our houses. Myanmar is a major supplier of those dals. Of course, this is also a getting to know each other meeting, because the new government of India is very keen to move our relationship with Myanmar into a more intensive phase of interaction, as has been done with other neighboring countries. So that's broadly the areas of discussion. Yes, Mr. Venkat Narayan. Let's finish on Myanmar and then we go to something else. Yes.
Myanmar is interested in joining SAARC. You have a summit due in November. Is this issue likely to figure in Mrs. Swaraj's meetings in Myanmar, and is she likely to meet Aung San Suu Kyi? Thanks.
Yeah. As regards SAARC, I'm not aware that there is a issue regarding expansion of membership of SAARC. I do not know whether that's on the agenda at all. I think the best people to respond to that would be the hosts of the SAARC. But my understanding is that this is not an issue at this stage on the agenda at all. That leaves your second question, but I will not answer it because I answer only one question. But I'm willing, anybody else asks that question, I'll answer it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ruchi. Yes. Yes.
Will she meet Suu Kyi?
Yes, I'm willing to answer that, I said. Except that I will never answer. I will never answer 2 times from the same person, ever. Mean? That's what I am, lean and mean. Yeah. Let me answer it now. Now that we followed the due process, I'll answer it. Okay. Let me finish. Can I answer? As regards meetings, certainly Aung San Suu Kyi is a respected leader in Myanmar, and every opportunity of interaction, Government of India takes to interact with her. That said, during this time, she is based in Yangon, and there is no parliament in session, so our understanding is that she is unlikely to be in Naypyidaw during that period. Yes.
Can you give us an update on India-ASEAN FTA?
My understanding is that all the ASEAN process has to be completed, and they have signaled their intention to sign this at the earliest available opportunity. As you are aware, these are FTAs are handled by the Ministry of Commerce in India as well as in those countries. So the earliest available opportunities for such interaction at high levels, they are focusing on signing it. Yes.
Akbar, you spoke of several bilateral meetings. Probably Pakistan Foreign Ministry is also going to be for the ARF meeting. Is there a meeting scheduled with Pakistan Foreign Ministry as well?
I just told you the meetings that were scheduled. Yes. Yeah, sure.
Sir, she would be meeting the Foreign Minister of China.
I can't hear. Can you speak a
She is
bit
meeting
loud?
the Foreign Affairs Minister of China as well. So would the issue of incursion be raised, because even the Defense Minister has told the Parliament some time back that Chinese troops violated the Border Defense Cooperation Agreement in Ladakh sector?
You are aware that in issues of pull-aside meetings, we are not at liberty to indicate to you the agenda well in advance, because these are not structured and long-term meetings. These are short-duration meetings which will be focused on a few limited issues. And once these meetings are over, we will certainly share the outcomes with you. Anyone else on these parts? Yeah. Yes. Suhasini?
It's been at least 2 years since India promised to start flights going into Yangon or Naypyidaw, and even so, there is no way of to travel from India to Myanmar without going via a third country. Is there likely to be anything discussed on this during the EM's visit?
First of all, India is beyond Delhi. There are flights between Calcutta and Yangon. Pardon? No, there are Air India flights on a regular basis. I can see people nodding their heads who've traveled because all our officials travel on those flights. So there are flights. That said, ultimately these are commercial decisions that commercial airlines take. The government provides a framework, and that framework is in place, and a government airline runs between Calcutta and Yangon. These are limited duration. There are also on certain off seasons where they do not function, but that is normal scheduling for airlines. For example, I understand that they do not function during certain parts of the year when there are not many pilgrims to Bodh Gaya. But that's again related to the tourist season rather than any other requirement. So governments can only provide enabling arrangements. All of you represent the private sector. You know how decisions are taken there. Anybody else on this? Otherwise, we can move to anything else. Yes, on anything else. Yeah, Charu?
Sir, there's been numerous reports of the spread of the Ebola virus in West Africa, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, etc. Are we going to be issuing any advisories to people who might be wanting to visit there to be more careful, and what is the process there? Because I think in a couple of these countries we only have honorary consuls also. So what is the process for that?
Yeah, let me try and take you through each of these countries so you know the number of people traveling and the number of Indians there and what we are doing. Essentially, health issues are handled by the Ministry of Health in India, and my understanding is that they are coordinating a response on this within India. So I will not get into those areas, but let me try and take you through areas outside India. This morning, the Government of India announced a $50,000 each cash assistance to Liberia, Sierra Leone, and to the Republic of Guinea. $50,000 each, and this is to be used for medical or humanitarian purposes related to the Ebola virus. The idea of providing this is that usually we provide medicine and assistance, but given the emergency there, that process will not be met in time, so therefore we've adopted a separate route in this case. That's number one in terms of. Number two, our understanding is that currently in Sierra Leone there are about 1,200 to 1,300 people either of Indian origin or Indian passport holders. In Liberia there are approximately 3,000 Indians, and in Guinea there are approximately 500 Indians. what we are doing is that we've reached out to them. We have communicated information that may be useful for them in such circumstances. Number two, we are keeping a close watch in terms of travel patterns of non-Indians from that region, because ultimately visa is required, so we are aware what are the numbers, etc. and all. Number three, our embassies are in touch with the Indian communities in all these regions. And I noticed that there was a story in one Indian Hindi newspaper which said, Indians stranded because exit visas are not being granted to people in Ebola-hit region. Let me assure you that there is no such issue there. Also, there has not been death of any Indian so far in on account of the Ebola virus. My understanding of the numbers of other deaths is approximately in Guinea 358, in Liberia 255, in Sierra Leone 273, non-Indian so far. So at the Ministry of External Affairs, which is dealing with these issues outside India, I've outlined what we are doing. Yes. Parul?
Are there any problems concerning Hajj and what is being done to resolve those issues?
Yeah. Well, you know, the quota of Indian nationals who will undertake Hajj this year is 156,000. Of these, 120,000 are through what is called the Hajj Committee, where the Government of India makes all the arrangements. The remaining 36,000 were through what are called private tour operators. Now, in accordance with the decision of the Supreme Court last year, where it had approved a policy, the Ministry of External Affairs had put out a press release for the 36,000 and how to go about who would take how many. Before I begin on that part, let me tell you, as regards the 120,000 who are going through the Hajj Committee and the Government of India assistance in terms of all the arrangements, there are no issues. That process is complete. There are issues relating to the 36,000 Indians who will be going through the private tour operators. And these problems arose largely or primarily because in violation of the Supreme Court judgment, which last year said that this judgment will not be contested by anyone, there have been court cases filed in several courts across India at levels lower than the Supreme Court. These were in Mumbai, also in Kerala, Indore, and Jammu and Kashmir. They are at various levels where they are currently being considered. But one of these courts decided to question or stay the press release which allocated quotas for various, or began the process for allocation of quotas for various tour operators. Now, that basically meant this whole allocation of quotas for private tour operators, the 36,000, came to a standstill. The last date for application for Hajj pilgrims is fast approaching. The matter is now with the Supreme Court, but unless the private tour operators review their position, it is going to be extremely difficult for them to meet the requirements of the Saudi government, and they may well lose the opportunity to send Indian pilgrims to Saudi Arabia through their aegis. Our request to them, and we have also through a special leave petition in the Supreme Court, made it very clear that should they stop this approach of trying to maximize their personal interests at the cost of the pilgrims from India, all may suffer. Yes. Padma Rao.
But my question pertains to the boat refugees of Sri Lankan Tamil origin who had, left Chennai and gone to Australia. And then according to the last reports, they didn't want to meet Indian consular officers, and they were supposed to all be pushed on to Nauru. And my question really revolves around what kind of status, most of these refugees, if they come in on genuine papers, Sri Lankan refugee status, and they're already in Tamil Nadu in this given case, and then go on to a third nation, within whose jurisdiction do they strictly fall? I mean, somebody needs to clear this up, because I don't know if they've been granted refugee status on Indian soil, then to what extent is India responsible for them to take them back if they wish to come?
I think this matter has been addressed by the Ministry of Home Affairs twice. They have indicated that all Indian nationals, if there are any Indian nationals there, we will certainly welcome them back, number one. If there are any others who we are bound by international laws in accordance with our own regulations, we will accept them. That's where we stand. Also, the same applies to other countries who are involved in this. So as far as we are concerned, we made it clear all Indian nationals are welcome. As regards other nationals, if they are within the ambit of any international convention that India has signed and has integrated into our laws, we certainly will have a look at that. At this stage, we haven't reached that process. Yes, Gautam?
Sir, India-Nepal joint statement has mentioned about one sub-regional cooperation on transit, connectivity and power. So any future roadmap is planned now for any sub-regional meetings is ahead in few months?
No, I mean, sub-regional cooperation is an intrinsic part of regional cooperation. And this is accepted that if there are possibilities of Nepal, India, Bangladesh, Bhutan cooperating on some of these aspects, we certainly will. It could be trilateral, it could be more than that. For example, if the power flows into India, and from India, if it is in excess, if there is grid connectivity, it goes to Bangladesh, this is one option that has been talked of. It's also possible from Bhutan. Now, these are all possibilities when that grid connectivity is established, when power flows. At this stage, we are far from that. Yes.
An international tribunal has delivered its verdict on Indo-Bangladesh maritime dispute last month, and at that time you said India respect the verdict and it's being studied in detail. Now, 1 month on, would you like to make any further comment in terms of what India has gained or lost in the verdict?
I think we had made it quite clear diplomatically that this was how good neighbors work. We had both gone to the tribunal, both have abided by the outcome of that tribunal, and now we seek to cooperate in avenues that are open for cooperation in that, on the basis of that verdict. That's the diplomatic outcome of that. These are matters which we see in terms of our relationship with Bangladesh rather than in black and white terms that you've described. Yes, Rajiv?
Akbar, recently China withdrew unilaterally its huge $1 billion oil rig from Vietnamese waters. What is India's reaction to this, particularly against the backdrop of the fact that China had made a lot of fuss about Indian oil exploration in Vietnam?
Rajiv, you are aware of our views on issues relating to disputes in the South China Sea. These are, one, we are not party to sovereignty disputes there. Number two, that we hope that sovereignty disputes between those parties concerned are resolved peacefully and in accordance with international law and conventions, including the 1982 International Law of the Seas Convention. Number three, we hope and believe that navigation should not be impeded in the South China Sea, which is an important waterway. Those are the elements which basically are of a generic nature, but provide for an understanding of our position on any issue related to the South China Sea. Yes, Srinjoy?
So, Sri Lankan national, during interrogation, has given exhaustive details about his being used by the ISI for spreading terror activities in India. In this regard, sir, has the MEA discussed this with the Sri Lankan government or taken it up with Islamabad?
Srinjoy, what you are saying is what I have seen in your channel and elsewhere. However, let me tell you, India and Sri Lanka have a multiplicity of channels to address each other's concern. These need not always be in the public domain. You are aware that diplomats use front doors. However, there are other doors, as you have known, in other issues. Should there have been issues of a sensitive nature that impinge on our security, let me assure you that the appropriate channels will be used to address them. Yes.
सर, एक खबर आई कि बीएसएफ का एक जवान चेनाब नदी में बहकर पाकिस्तान चला गया सर। तो क्या आपकी तरफ से कुछ इस तरह की बात?
मुझे इसके बारे में नहीं पता। अगर ऐसा कुछ हुआ तो एक मैकेनिज्म है बिटवीन the border guards on our side and their side, and certainly they will work it out. I have always said that issues which happen on the border are handled by those who are responsible for border management, and certainly we are not those. Yes, Nilova?
What is the status of the 41 Indians held hostage or captive in Mosul? Is there any update on what their status is?
You know, Nilova, in situations of conflict, there's always a tussle between hope and fear. There's always a tussle between those who are interested in finding corroboration and confirmation, and those who are interested in speculation. Finally, there is always a tussle between those who are interested in persisting with the issue and those who want to conclude this. Now, what we see in some reports is this tussle playing out. We in the government of India have made the choice. We are on the side of hope. We are on the side of confirmation. We are on the side of persisting until all information is available about every Indian national in captivity. Of course, there are others who've made the other choice. And we do not want to go down that track because we feel that the sources of information available to us far exceeds what is being put out in the public domain as speculative or conclusive or information. So, as the Minister of External Affairs has said, that we have confirmation of those Indian nationals being unharmed, of those Indian nationals remaining in captivity, and we have through our sources corroborative evidence of that. Anyone else? If not, thank you very much. Have a good evening.